Hello and good morning, friends. Welcome to the CEC Edit Live Lecture. Dear friends, with our ongoing series on organization behavior, today we will be talking on personality. Our first session would be on introduction to the personality, whereas we also would be talking on type A and type B of the personality, whereas in the second half we would be discussing on big 5 personality types and factors influencing personality. And for this very discussion, we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Namita Rajput is Associate Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. Dr. Rajput has given her immense contribution in the field of academics. She has authored numerous books. Number of her articles have been published in reputed journals both at national and international levels, and continuously she is disseminating information and participating in various conferences and seminars. So let's welcome our guest, Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Rajput, welcome to the Disagreeable Lecture.
Good morning, friends. So here we have a very important aspect which we'll be discussing today, and that is personality. The personality has immense meanings, diverse meanings, and there is no common definition vis-a-vis the personality. Some people talk about the kind of height you have, the kind of complexion you have, the kind of communication skills you have, from which background you have. So there are so many aspects and the domains and the dimensions of the personality. So this lecture would be dedicated on the types of personality, the concept and the insights of personality, what are the factors which impacts our personality, and what are the basic dimensions relating to it. So let us start with the concept called personality. When a man is born, he is an infant, and he is a very, blank as far as his personality is concerned. As in when he grows in a family, as in when he acquires the knowledge, he goes to the school, to the college, meeting friends, making friends, having a family background. So all these things, make a personality of an individual. We are born in a different culture, we are born in a different setup, we are born with a different diverse backgrounds, with the, different kind of caste, creed, religion, system, etc. So all these things impact and influence the individual's personality. As a result of the various experiences which an individual counters, and as far as the social influences he counters, he becomes a person and comes to be called as a personality. Now, personality is a very complex term and has got a multi-dimensional constructs as far as an individual is concerned. No common definition of the personality has so far been arrived at. Every individual defines personality in a different way, which includes the trait factors, the physical appearance, etc. Personality is a dynamic organization within an individual of those psychological systems that determines his unique adjustments with the environment. And it is a sum total of the ways in which an individual reacts and interacts with the others. And as far as the physical asset is concerned, it relates to an individual charm, attitude, while dealing with others, and the smiling face can also considered to be a part of personality. So here we have talked about the various dimensions an individual can possess and an individual can have as far as the personality is concerned. So here we have first talked about the multidimensional, about the birth of an individual, then about the social interactions which he encounters, then about the appearance which he carries, and as far as the attitude and the charm which he carries. Sometimes we meet people who are always carrying a very beautiful smile on their face, so you feel like talking to them, and you always call them that this person is having a very pleasing personality, and you feel like talking to them, you want to be with them. But yes, some people are very aggressive and some people are very arrogant. They carry a very different kind of an attitude. So it is better not to talk to them. This kind of thought emerges in your mind. So personality has, something to do with the social interactions, the kind of, attitude you carry, so on and so forth. So let us carry on our discussion of the personality with a very famous psychologist, Uma Sekran. So she states that one can examine the personality in the terms of a set of relative stable characteristics and the tendencies that determine our thoughts, feelings and behavior, and which have some continuity or consistency over time. Maddie, as far as in 1980, gave a very good definition which defines the personality as personality is a stable set of characteristics and tendencies that determine those commonalities and differences in the psychological behavior, that is the thoughts, feelings and actions of the people that have continuity in time, and they may not be easily understood as a sole resultant of the social and biological pressures of the moment. The above definitions, they indicate on particular aspects, that is the commonality of characteristics and the human tendencies. Amongst the people who display consistency in their behavior over time, Maddie's definition suggests that people do change due to biological and social pressures. Thus, by understanding certain dimensions of personality, one can predict the human behavior to a great extent. Now, this is a very important definition which has been given by the famous psychologists which I have referred to in the beginning of this. So, one thing has to be kept in mind, that the human dimensions are diverse and we change over time. Now, as and when we grow in the age, the kind of personality we were carrying at the childhood, it definitely has a spillover on your young age also. But yes, it keeps on changing. Why? Because you have a social pressure, you have a society in front of you, there are do's and don'ts of the society, there are social norms, social ethics of the society, and owing to your high position in the organization, you're bound to change yourself. But as a matter of fact, the basic personality of the individual more or less remains same. So that is why we have a concept of consistency in your behavior. Like sometimes we, call an individual like he's having a very aggressive personality, he's having a very happy personality, he's having a very pleasing personality. So, the kind of attitude and the traits which we carry from our childhood, they are persistent in our behavior. But yes, because of the social norms, because of the social pressures, because of the high hierarchical position which you are obtaining in your organization, it goes a sea change, and that you have to carry as far as the part of your personality is concerned, because you are now at a very responsible position and you cannot carry with your old thoughts and your old behavior. So hence, the personality has to be changed because of all these factors. Now, coming on to the diverse types of personality, the most famous as far as the global and the Indian context is concerned is personality A and personality B. So let us have a deep insight of what these two types of persons are. A very simple division of the preferences or the personality type is into type A and type B, which is based broadly on anxiety and the stress levels. This typing was first described in relation to the heart diseases in 1950 by a cardiologist called Mayer Friedman and R.H. Rosem. It subsequently appeared in the Jenkins Activity Survey, which was originated to detect the behavior which led to the heart attacks, and it was again given by the Jenkins and Naski Rosenman in 1971. Now, Dr. Redforce Williams, a cardiologist at Duke University, later showed that the main hazard in this, when you are having a type of personality A, the person has a tendency to be having more of anger and hostility, and a subsequent study has challenged even this, throwing the whole validity of this type as a predicator of the heart attacks into the doubts. Nevertheless, it is simply typing differences and perhaps aligning with the big 5 factor of neuroticism or the tendency to anxiety. Now, let us have a deep insight of the characteristics of type A. Now, people who are having type A personalities are always moving, they are always walking, and they are always, having the eating habits rapidly. They feel very impatient with the speed the events take place. They always try to do 2 or more than 2 things together, that is simultaneously, and cannot cope up with the leisure, etc. So we can always call them as workaholics. So this kind of a personality of an individual is a very amazing personality. They are always on move, they are always innovative, they are always want to do something or the other, and the most important thing is that they hate leisure time, because they always want to, occupy their minds in one activity or the other. So basically, they are generally obsessed with the kind of the work they do, and they are involved with the number of works together. Now, basically, the type A personality generally lives at a very high level of stress because of their, basic nature, as they wish to be always busy, they do not want to have kind of a rest or a leisure time. So some of the very important traits are as follows. They enjoy the achievement of goals with a greater enjoyment in achieving of more difficult goals. For them, primarily the main focus of their life is to achieve more and more. Secondly, they are thus constantly working very hard to achieve these things, and they are very aspirant and very highly ambitious persons because they want to achieve the maximum in their short span of life. They are thus constantly working very hard to achieve and strive for what they are looking for in their lives. They feel the pressure of time constantly flat out, and they are highly competitive, and they have got a strong will to do the things, and it necessitates a very important competition in their lives. They hate failures, and of course winning is their habit. And of course, they will work hard to avoid any kind of failures because they do not wish to see any kind of failures in their life. They are generally very pretty fit, and they often are well educated, and this is the result of their anxiety that they always try to have one kind of knowledge or the other, and they wish to solve all kind of ambiguities in their life or clarities of their thoughts. So they are always busy in acquiring knowledge and of course the wisdom, because that is their basic traits in their life. Now coming on to a very diverse aspect, that is the type of personality B. They are just contrary to what we have done as far as the type A is concerned. They are very simple person. They do not have any kind of urgency in their life. As and when the things come, they take it very nicely, and they take the things in a very easy manner. They are not having any kind of stress, mental pressure to be competitive and to have a complete, the wishes of achievement in their life. They do not discuss the achievements and leave it for their superiors to discuss it and to identify it. People having B personality, they plan to have fun, relaxation, rather than the show off. These type of people have a tendency to relax without any guilt. The type B personality generally lives at a very lower stress levels, and typically they work steadily, enjoying achievements, but are not becoming stressed when they do not achieve their milestones. So this kind of a very relieved aspect of their personality is a very important aspect of personality B. They are not pissed off, they are not moved because they have not achieved anything in their lives, or it is hard to achieve the milestones what they have thought about, but these things, they do not turn them at all, and they are not at all stressed because of these aspects of failures in their life. They may be creative, but they enjoy exploring the ideas and concepts, and they are often reflective, thinking about the outer and the inner world. So we have seen till now the diverse personalities of type A and type B. So I think by all these characteristics you can judge yourself whether you are in category A or in category B. But yes, so many research which have been empirically proved that if you are always on a moving side and always on a kind of a workaholic, the kind of stress which you have on your hearts can lead to a cardiovascular diseases and some kind of heart problems. But yes, there are some research which are in contrary to this, that if you occupy yourself in terms of working, etc., then of course you will be busy and you will have a longer life. So still now, as we move on with the discussions, the things are very in a lucid form, and we cannot say in a very clarity aspects that whether personality A is good or B is good. So we can have somewhere a combination of the two, that is, you have to be ambitious, but yes, do not take a lot of stress, etc. Now there are certain value additions which I would like to show here in this slide, that interestingly the facts and the researches on type A and type B personality. The researchers found that more than twice as many type A people as type B people developed coronary heart diseases. When the figures were adjusted for smoking, lifestyle, etc., it still emerged that type A people were nearly twice as likely to develop heart diseases as type B. For example, 80 years later, 257 of the participants have developed the coronary heart diseases, and by the end of the study, 70% of the men who had developed the coronary heart diseases was of type A personality. The type A personality type's behavior makes them more prone to the stress-related illness such as CHD, raised blood pressures, etc. Such people are definitely more likely to have their flight or fight response set off by the things in their environment only, and as a result they are more likely to have the stress hormones present, which over a long period of time leads to a range of stress related illness. So this is a very important theory which has been given by the famous psychologist as far as the personality is concerned. So this value addition also confirms to this fact that yes, if you are type of personality A, you are likely to have more of heart diseases compared to type B. Now let us have some theoretical evaluations to these types of personality A and personality B. However, there are a number of problems with type A and type B approach. Such approaches have been criticized by attempting to describe common human experiences within a narrowly defined parameters, and many people may not fit easily into type A or type B personality. Now here I would like to mention here that certain things when you actually observe in their lives, as far as the social interactions is concerned, as far as the communication is concerned, sometimes it is very difficult to identify that whether an individual lies in personality A or in personality B. So this is the maximum problem as far as the types of personality is concerned, that you are not able to identify clearly that whether an individual falls under type A or falls under type B. Now, a longitudinal study which was carried out by Ranald Brand in 1988, he found that predicted by a Friedman type A, a man were more likely to suffer from the CHD, that is the coronary heart diseases. Interestingly, though in a follow-up to their study, they found that the men who survived coronary events type A, men died at a rate much lower than type B men. So although they have the disease, but the types of expectancy rate is higher in type A and in type B. Now the major problem with the type A and type B theory is actually determining which factors are influencing the coronary heart diseases. Some research have concentrated on hostility, arguing that type A behavior patterns is characterized by underlying hostility, which is a major factor leading to coronary heart diseases. Now, as we move on to the theoretical evaluation of whether type A is there or type B personality is there, the major aspects which I would like to highlight here is that they are, when you talk about type A, their behavior patterns is very, very, important in this aspect, that they always are into kind of argumentative sessions, they are always aggressive, they are having anger, etc. So all these things and all these aspects lead to the coronary heart diseases. And the other research has investigated that the type A people experience and cope with stress, which is majorly a factor leading to a coronary heart diseases. It would seem that much more sophisticated model is needed to predict the coronary heart diseases than the Friedman and Rosenman type A and type B approach. So this particular theoretical foundation confirms this fact that if you are always stressed out, if you are always argumentative in nature, if you are always fighting with the anger and a negative thought, you are always bound to have these kind of diseases, and which was actually being mentioned by the Friedman and the Rosenman as far as the CHD diseases are concerned in comparison to type A and in comparison to type B. So overall, till now we have done the concept of personality, that is the meaning, aspects, dimensions, spheres, that what are the parameters which determines the personality. So let us have a recap of that there is no clear-cut definition as far as the personality aspects are concerned, and as and when we are born as an infant, we are not having any kind of thought and we have not adopted any culture, but as and when we grow in the life, we adopt the cultures, we have the social interactions, we bound to develop a personality. Now coming on to the types of personalities, a recap of what major two types of personalities we have done till now, that is type A and type B. Now type A people are very aggressive, they are very walking and always, trying to do something or the other. They don't like leisure, they always want to achieve their milestones as far as the possible is concerned. And as far as the personality B is concerned, they take the life on a leisure basis and they always want to take the life in a very easy way, and they are not disturbed at all if they are not able to achieve their milestones in life. So coming on to the end of this part, in the next part I would be discussing the big 5 types of the major personalities across the globe. Thank you so much. Now let us discuss on the major 5 types of personalities. Now I would like to tell you a survey which was held in Honolulu in 1981, in which 4 prominent researchers, that is the Louis Goldberg, Naomi, Takemoto, Andrew and the John M. Digman, they reviewed the available personality test of the day, and they decided that most of the tests which were held any promise seemed to measure a subset of the 5 common factors, just as the Norman had discovered in 1963. Now this emergence of the 5 big personality model, the following is the discovery of the convergence of the lexical hypothesis with the findings of theoretical research. A model was developed which states that personality can be described in terms of 5 aggregate level trait descriptors. Now let us discuss these one by one. Although many personality researchers have built their own models which they talk to each other, they usually translate their model into one proposed by the Norman in 1963. The following descriptions of the 5 factors were adapted from the writings of Dr. John A. Johansson. Now the first type of personality which we are discussing here is the extroversion. Now the extroversion is marked by the pronounced engagement with the external world, and the people enjoy being with the people. They are full of energy. With the other often experience the positive emotions. They tend to be enthusiastic, action oriented, and individuals who are likely to say yes or let's go to the opportunities for excitement. And in the groups, they like to talk, they assert themselves, they draw attention to themselves. So this is a very important kind of personality, and the first type of the personality in the 5 personality test model was observed, and overall in the global context also they are actually valid. So first type of personality which we have talked about here is the extroversion. These kind of people, they always are assertive in the groups, they always want to seek the attention in the crowd, they are having all the positive thoughts, emotions, and they always try to connect themselves with the maximum with the outside world. So they always want to have, the action orientation is their focus, and the individuals, they always have this kind of an attitude, okay, let's go. So this is, an opportunity for the excitement and always looking for some action orientation in their lives. Now let us talk about the diverse personality, which is just opposite to the extroverts. We talk about here is the introverts. The introverts lack the exuberance, energy and activity levels of extroverts. They tend to be very quiet, low key, deliberate, and disengaged from the social world. Their lack of social involvement should not be interpreted as shyness or depression, and the introvert simply needs less stimulation than an extrovert and prefers to be alone. So here we have talked about a very diverse and just opposite personality which we have talked about in the previous one, that is the extroverts. So these people are in contrary to what we have talked about the extroverts. They are very much contained in their life. They are totally disconnected from the world, and it should not be taken as a kind of a sign of a depression, because that is their nature is all about. They always want to be alone. They are having a self-orientation. They do not want to have a social engagement at all, and they are basically a very low-key persons. They always keep themselves, as far as the society is concerned, on a high esteem, and they always want to be with themselves. And of course, the introvert simply needs less stimulations compared to the extroverts. Now let us have a third category, that is the agreeableness. As the name suggests, agreeableness reflects the individual differences in concern with the cooperation and the social harmony. Individuals who possess the agreeableness as a factor, it gives the credence and the value to getting along with the others. So they are therefore considerate, friendly, generous, helpful, and they are willing to compromise their interest with the others. Agreeable people also have a very optimistic view of the human nature, and on the other hand, they believe that they are basically very honest, decent, and trustworthy. Now basically when you talk about this category of people, that is the agreeableness, they are very docile, very soft, and they are very, very helpful and generous in their nature, and they always agree on what people say, and they are having a very empathetic attitude towards the society with all the human optimistic orientation as far as their nature is concerned. Now coming on to the contrary part of what are disagreeable people. Now as the name suggests itself, the disagreeable people, they almost disagree to what people say. They are always having a negative orientation in their mind, and they are having basically the self-interest compared to the societal interest. So they give primarily the importance to their self-interest, and for them to care about the society is the least priority they can have. So they are not getting along good with the people. They are not agreeing with what people are saying. They are not having any consensus as far as their societal consensus is concerned. They are always talking about their own self-interest. So if they are talking about the well-being, they'll talk about themselves. If they're talking about any kind of a decision, they will take such decisions, only those decisions which will suit them. They are not at all positive. They are always having kind of a skepticism in their lives and always having a negative attitude in their lives. And their motives are very bad in terms of the self-interest only. They are unfriendly people. They are not cultured people at all. They are very, very uncooperative in their domain, and for them having a social orientation is the last priority in their life. So till now we have done basically the four types we have already mentioned. The first was, let us have a recap. The first was extraversion, that is the people are very optimistic, they are very workable in their models, they are having full of energy, they are totally connected to the outside world, and they are having a let go attitude. The second we have talked about is an introvert. Introvert lack the energy activity levels, and they are having a low key. But yes, if they are introvert, it should not be taken as a sign of a depression or a sign of a shyness, because that is their basic domain and the nature. Now basically when you talk about the introverts, they simply need less stimulations compared to the extroverts, and they prefer to be alone. The third category which we have talked about is the agreeableness. This category of the people, they are very cooperative, they go with the society, and trend is their friend. And as far as their nature is concerned, they are very helpful, they are very generous, they are always willing to extend their helping hand, they are having a very compromising attitude towards the society. So, and coming on to this, they believe themselves that they are very honest people, they are very trustworthy, and having a very good positive attitude and image in the life as far as the society is concerned. Now, the another category which we have talked about is the disagreeable people. As the name suggests, they do not agree with what society says, and trend is not their friend. And as far as the decision making is concerned, their basic parameters and their basic focus and the nucleus of their decision making is that which only suits them. So self-interest is on the top as far as these people are concerned, and they are very, very unfriendly. They are always suspicious about people, and they are uncooperative in their nature. So let us have a comparison of the two categories, and their most important categories. The first is the agreeables and the second is the disagreeables. So I have pointed out here the four basic types of differences between the two. The agreeableness is obviously advantageous for attaining and maintaining the popularity. So agreeableness is obviously advantageous because people will have a very positive attitude for those people who are having the positive orientation in life, and compared to a very negative feeling in which the people they do not have any kind of agreeableness on any concept. The second point of difference is about the agreeable people are better liked than disagreeable people. So agreed, this is a very important part which we have to discuss here, that if the people are agreeable, people will have a positive image, and of course positivity will be spilled over across the organization, and you will be start liking by the subordinates, by your co-workers, by your even the superiors, and even the people who are top in hierarchy. But yes, if you are always having a separate tune to work upon, and you will always have a different orientation, and you will always say what others are not telling, of course on a very different and the opposite path, you will always be disliked. So another point of difference between the agreeables and the disagreeables is that the agreeableness is not useful in the situations that require tough and absolute objective decisions, whereas disagreeable people can make excellent scientific, critical and soldiers. You know, sometimes we need all types of people, they are very important for the organization also. It's not that the disagreeable people are bad. Sometimes they also support the organization because they also have a point. And it's not that they are always wrong. They are very, very good critics in the society, and they can be good, decision makers sometimes, because they will always be having a skepticism in their mind. They will always have a conservative approach in decision making, and sometimes these things will give a mileage to the organization. So it's not that the disagreeables are always bad. All types of organization, all types of personalities are important for the organization to carry on the road of the success. Now there is another category of the people. Let us have a discussion on this. This is called as the conscientious people. The conscientious concerns the way in which we control, regulate and direct our impulses. Impulses means the desires, the kind of wants you have. So the way we control, the way we regulate and the way we wish and overall direct our wishes or impulses is the kind of the consensus we are talking about. The impulses are not inherently bad, of course. Occasionally the time constraints require a snap decision, and acting on our first impulse can be very effective response. And of course, also in the times of play rather than work, acting spontaneously and impulsively can be of fun. So these are the things which are very important, and this aspect of the personalities are also very important to strategize in the organization, because sometimes the people have a strong desire, so sometimes they are able to control it, regulate it, and of course these things matter a lot as far as the working of the organization is concerned. And sometimes if you are taking the decision making on the basis of impulse, it is also fun giving, it is also very, very good. And sometimes because of the time constraints, the different parameters are taken into consideration, that is the impulse based decision making. The benefits of high consensus are very, very obvious, because the consensus individuals, they avoid trouble, they achieve high levels of success through their purposeful planning and persistence. And of course, they are also positive, regarded by the others as very intelligent, as very reliable. On the negative side, they are very compulsive perfectionists, workaholics, and furthermore, extremely consensus individuals might be regarded as a very stuffy and boring, and the unconsensus people may be criticized for their unreliability, the lack of ambition, and the failures to stay within the lines, but they are well experienced as far as the short lives are concerned, and they will never be called as stuffy. So till now we have discussed so many dimensions and the different types of the personalities which we see in the organization as a whole. Every individual, having a different and a diverse personality will affect the organization differently. And we need all types of people in an organization to make it a success. The critics are important. The personality A is important, personality B is important, extravagant people are also important, and introverts are also important. And of course the critics, that is who take the, always the negative side of it, they are also important. Like for running an organization, these things are important. Similarly, to run a country, the opposition is also very important for the ruling party to be in control and have a good direction. So in this backdrop, we move on to another category of the people, that is we call as the neuroticism or the inversely emotional stability. Now the neuroticism refers to a tendency to experience the negative feelings. Those who score high on neuroticism may experience primarily one specific negative feeling such as anxiety, anger, depression, but are likely to experience several of these emotions simultaneously. People with the high of neuroticism are emotionally very, very reactive. They respond emotionally to events that would not affect most of the people, and their reactions tend to be more intense than normal. They are more likely to interplay the ordinary situations as threatening and the minor frustrations as hopeless difficult, and their negative emotional reactions tend to persist for unusually long periods of time, which means they are often in a very, very bad mood. And these problems in emotional regulations can diminish a neurotic ability to think clearly, to make decisions, and to cope up effectively with the stress. And at the other end of the scale, individuals who score low in neuroticism are less easily upset and are less emotionally reactive. So they tend to be very calm, emotionally stable, and free from persistent negative feelings. Freedom from negative feeling does not mean that they low scores experience a lot of positive energy. The frequency of the positive emotions is a component of the extroversion domain of that organization. Now another aspect which we need to discuss here is the openness to the experience. Now openness to the experience is a kind of a dimension which is a very cognitive style that distinguishes the imaginative, creative people from down to earth and the conventional people. Often people are intellectually very curious, appreciative of the art and sensitive to the beauty. They tend to be, compared to closed people, they are aware of their own feelings. They tend to think and act in individualistic and non-conforming ways, and people with the low scores are openness to experience, tend to have narrow common interest. They prefer the plain, straightforward, obvious over the complex, ambitions and subtle. They may regard the art and science with the suspicion regarding these endeavors as obscure or no practical use. The closed people prefer familiarity over the novelty, and of course they are very conservative and they are very resistant to change. So this kind of openness is often preferred to be a very healthier sign, and a mature psychologist who often themselves open to experience. However, open and closed styles of thinking are useful in the different environments. The intellectual style of openness person may serve a professor well, but yes, the researcher has shown that closed thinking is related to a superior job performance in police work, in sales, and in the number of service occupations. Now, this is a particular slide which is very important as we are about to conclude this lecture. So, we'll have a big 5-factor theory. The first was neuroticism, that is the anxiety. It describes that the anxiety, anger, hostility, depression, self-consciousness, impulsiveness, and vulnerability. Second, we discussed about the extraversion. These people are very warm, they are very gratuitous, they are very assertive, they always prefer a love for activity, they are very excitement seeking people, and they are very having positive emotions with them. Then we discussed about the openness in the organization. The openness counters the fantasies, the feelings, the actions, the ideas and the values. So we are actually summarizing the different types of 5-factor model theory of the personality. Then we have agreeableness of the people, and then of course we have this consensus of the people. The agree people are very good. They are always, taking the policy matter, what the others are thinking, they also agree. They are very soft-hearted people, and as far as the people are concerned, they are very modest in their approach. They are having strong convictions, which says that yes, they have to go with the positivity, they have to go with the trend, etc. Then we have the self-control people or the consensusness. So this particular tantamounts to competence, to the order, to the achievement, to the self-discipline and to the deliberations. So there is another value addition which I would like to give here before concluding the lecture. That is the studies indicating the personality traits of the Indian managers. So this is a very interesting value addition which every student must know, because shortly they are joining the corporate sector or they are in the corporate sector. So having the insights of all these aspects of the personalities is definitely going to give them a good mileage as far as the organization success is concerned. So the individual behavior is influenced by the various factors studied earlier. Behavior has an impact on how an individual acts and interacts with the superior subordinates and in the work environment, and the various studies have been conducted in this field. There is a study which is conducted by Dwivedi, which states that Mr. R.S. Dwivedi has carried out a study on 52 managers, which is definitely comprising of public and the private sector managers both, so as to have a very comprehensive view about the different personalities which are present in the Indian corporate sector. So the findings are very, very good, and it indicates that the managers, they have a high importance on the following traits, and they give importance to these kind of people, that is the cooperation, the intelligence, the sharpness, the energy level and the sociability, that is how they are socially interacting with the people. So they give very importance to all these parameters as far as the personality is concerned. Now they give, there are certain factors on which they give low importance, and let me highlight those. The first is the aggressiveness. The second is the confronting, that is how they confront these situations, and the last is the independence. So these are the 3 factors on which the Indian managers, the persons who are, wishing to have you in the organization, they give less importance to these 3 parameters. The flexibility, the preserving and the self-monitoring has been accorded with the modern importance and with the moderate importance, because you need to have a self-monitoring, you have to have a self-limiting factor, you have to have the preservance, and you should have the flexibility, because all these parameters also have a good impact on the success of the organization also. So all these factors which have been highlighted by the Indian study which was done on 52 managers, they give a lot of good insights, and it's a very important survey which every student must study, and so there are similar surveys which are available as far as the international factors are concerned. So now let us have the factors influencing the personality, and this is a very important and the last aspect which is a part of this lecture. The first is the heredity. The personality is determined by the heredity, environment, culture, personal situation, and under which an individual works, and let us study these concepts one by one. The first, let me have a insight and give you the insight of the heredity. Heredity is transmitted through genes and which determines the hormone balance, which later determines the physique and subsequently the personality of an individual, acquiring from the parents certain biological, physiological, psychological commonalities could be termed as a hereditary. These commonalities are further reflected in the physical structure, facial attraction, then the parameters, the muscle composition, etc. So heredity is also the factor which decides the energy level of the person in contention. Now these factors have a very deciding influence on how the individual would display his reactions in a particular situation, the health, the psychological makeup, etc. And the parents prominently pass on the shyness, fear, even the stress to the next generation. So this is a very important parameter, that is the hereditary. We always try and compare when you are at your homes also, that the son is just like father, as the father is very hot-headed, very short, on the short aspects he always shows the anger. Similarly, the son is just on the father. So these aspects we particularly call as a hereditary factors. This comes in terms of the physical personality, in terms of how you communicate, in terms of how you think, and in terms of how you behave. So, even these generations pass on from generations to generations. The second, these factors, they influence the personality also. In good organizations, particularly in defense services, a detailed screening is carried out of the candidates based on the background of their parents also, in terms of their physique, psychological makeup, disability, transferability diseases, and reacting the impact of the good health of the organization. Here we can quote a paragraph from the Stephen Robinson book on the essentials of the organization. He writes what? The researchers in many different countries have studied the thousands of sets of identical twins who are separated at birth and raised separately. If heredity played a little or no part in determining the personality, you would expect to find few similarities between the separated twins. But the research found a lot of common for almost every behavioral trait. A significant variation between the twins turned out to be association with the genetic factors. For instance, one set of twins had been separated for 39 years and raised 45 miles apart, were found to drive the same model and the same color. The chain smoked the same brand of cigarettes, they owned the same brands of dogs, and they are regularly vacation with the 3 blocks of each other in a beach community which is about 1,500 miles away. This depicts that yes, heredity plays a very important role, and the very beautiful example which I have already stated about the twins, that they were raised differently for different years, even after they are completely raised and they are completely working, they are almost having the same set of commonalities. So definitely the heredity plays a very important role as far as the impacting of the personality is concerned. Similarly, we have different constitutional factors. Some people are tall, some people are thin, some people are muscular, some people are well pronounced. And similarly, we have certain biological factors which also, because of the blood chemistry, they are different in their behaviors. And of course, the environment plays a very significant role in determining the environment. So I'll just give a very beautiful example these days. Like at the time when we were born, there was no internet, and whereas the advent of information and communication technologies, now we have e-kids. The moment they are raised about their 1.5 years or 2 years of age, they start playing with the mobiles, with the iPads. So their comprehension is different because they are born in such an environment in which the use of these electronic goods is magnified and significant. So definitely the culture is impacted, the kind of work environment is impacted, and of course the personality would also be affected. So there are so many other parameters like situations also. The situations also change you, and the situations also impact the personality to a great extent. The individual has to interact with a number of problems in a given situation which does not remain constant, and hence it is a subject to change, and hence it is very fluid in nature. So we can have a social learning activity as far as the personality is concerned, which is specifically influenced by the situation. And there are certain 16 personality traits which are mentioned here. So let us have a recap of those. Some people are reserved versus outgoing. Some people are less intelligent compared to more intelligent. Some people are affected by the feelings, and some people are emotionally very stable. So some people are submissive and some people are dominant. Compared to the similar parameters, some people are happy-go-lucky, some are serious, some are timid, some are very adventurous in their aspects. Some people are self-efficient, some people are dependent, some people are uncontrolled, some people are very controlled, some people are always, try to be always in a tense situation, and they make others also tense, whereas some people are always relaxed. They take the life as it comes. So there are so many personality differences which we have seen, and this kind of information is very important for the managers because they have to make the strategies for the organization. They have to counter, they have to make everyone happy. So they have to first know what kind of a person he is, what kind of personality he is, that is type A or type B, or whether he's an introvert or an extrovert, whether he's open to the aspects or not. So these parameters are very important for a human resource manager and the other people who are associated with the policy making as far as these policies are concerned, which affect the personality. Because you have to, actually change the people. You can always change their personality. You can give them some transformational sessions. You have to give them some kind of a leadership session so that they are coming out, or you have to sometimes give them some counseling sessions so that the kind of personalities which you are looking for, they are coming on to that. And of course, this is a proved fact that you can always change the personality. Some people were very aggressive at their childhood, then they become very docile as and when they grow in their life because of the situations, because of the the social pressures, because of once they get married, they have so many responsibilities to their command. So all these factors, they change the personality of an individual also. So I hope you understand now what the personality traits is all about and what kind of factors are important, what is a 5-factor theory, and what kind of challenges do the human resource managers and the other people who are associated with the policy formulation are affected by the different types of personality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. And dear friends, if you have liked the lecture, please write the feedback to us at info.cec@nic.in. We would be meeting again soon and would be discussing on another topic under the series Organizational Behavior. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.